Ethiopia still reiterates commitment to peaceful resolution to border issues with Sudan. And ministry applauds positive outcomes of homegrown economic reforms. Those are the top stories in this news edition. Hello, welcome to ETV News with the news. I'm Shimal Islamma. President Sahle-Work Zewde said Ethiopia is planning to reopen soon its embassy in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. The president made the announcement at a press conference she held after a discussion with DRC President Felix Tshisekedi at the National Palace in Kinshasa. President Sahle-Work said that the government of Ethiopia supports and wishes a successful mandate to President Tshisekedi as head of the African Union, AU. The two presidents also discussed ways to cement the ties between Kinshasa and Addis Ababa, as well as exchange views on topics of mutual interest. President Sahle-Work traveled to the DR Congo after concluding her visit to Tanzania. Ethiopia and Tanzania have renewed commitments to collaborate on various areas. President Sahle-Work Zewde, who was visiting Tanzania, discussed with Tanzanian President John Magufuli on ways of enhancing the bilateral ties of the two countries. The two sides have also exchanged views on ways of boosting investment between the two countries, cooperation in language studies, and release of prisoners, among others. Jerusalem has more on that.
Tanzania and Ethiopia have enjoyed long and cordial relations dating back to the 1960s. Ethiopian President Sahle-Work Zewde has arrived in Chato, Tanzania for official talks with President John Magufuli. In a joint press briefing conducted following the discussion, President Sahle-Work said both nations have agreed to enhance their bilateral ties in trade and investment.
We had a very fruitful discussion on bilateral issues, on issues of common interest. And I'm not going to repeat what His Excellency the President has already said, but I can assure you that we are ready for business to really bring the relationship between Ethiopia and Tanzania to another level, to the higher level.
Ethiopia is Africa's leading country with the largest livestock, making the Horn of Africa country the powerhouse and the best destination for leather and meat factories. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Ethiopia leads with an overwhelming 60.39 million cattle, while Tanzania in the second position boasts of 33.9 million cattle. The president noted that Tanzania and Ethiopia have opportunities to cooperate more on leather products.
Livestock is an area that we should explore more because Ethiopia and Tanzania are the first and second countries in terms of, livestock resources on the continent.
Similarly, President Magufuli stressed on the need to enhance cooperation and the development of livestock sector in order to exploit the potential of leather products.
Hapo ilikuwa ni mwaka 2016 lakini kwenye mwaka 2019-20
the trade volume between Tanzania and Ethiopia has tremendously gone up from 3 billion shillings in 2016 to 13 billion shillings in 2020 as the two nations look for increased business ties. There are 13 Ethiopian projects actively working in Tanzania, with the Ethiopian Airlines being the pioneer. We have to strengthen our ties in all areas of cooperation for mutual benefit.
To speed up the cooperation of trade and investment between the two nations, the Ministerial Commission, which is led by foreign ministers of the two countries, is expected to hold its consultation forum in Ethiopia in the mid of February and March.
The Joint Commission will have a task of reviewing the agreements that we have to make sure that we have agreements that work and they are being implemented, and also explore other areas.
President Sahle-Work also expressed a keenness to commence teaching Swahili language in Ethiopia as it's an important language in Africa. As many Ethiopians are in prison in Tanzania for illegal immigration, President Magufuli affirmed that his government is ready to release the prisoners without conditions.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has commended the commitment shown by Oromia and Somali states to cooperate in peace and development works. The implementation of peace and collective development agreements within the internal and administrative boundaries of regions will have a significant impact on the country's sustainable development, the Premier tweeted. The Premier expressed his sincere gratitude to the leaders of Oromia and Somali regions for their exemplary work. We will bring prosperity to all parts of our country through peace and development, said the Premier. Modernizing the transport sector first is necessary to attain Ethiopia's comprehensive 10-year development plan. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen made the remark at a discussion forum on the country's 10-year transport sector development plan. Snai Tamrat has more on that.
Ethiopia's 10-year transport sector development plan has been tabled for discussion among various stakeholders. Addressing the event held here in Addis, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen noted that the country's economic growth largely depends on the transport sector. The government will pay proper attention to the attainment of the goals for the sector by involving in the planning and allocating the budget, he added. Further emphasized that modernizing the transport sector first is necessary to attain Ethiopia's comprehensive 10-year development plan.
ግብርናን ማዘመን ከተፈለገ የዘመነ transport.
Modernizing the agriculture sector calls for revolutionizing the transport sector. Modern transport is also necessary to modernize the mining industry, to turn the comparative advantage of our tourism into result, opportunity and development. We need a better transport infrastructure. In this regard, if we see the budget allocation of this year, a large part of the country's resource has been allotted to the transport sector. It is also with the same attention that the government is striving to the attainment of the sector's plan. So modernizing our transport system would mean creating a strong competitive nation and realizing our prosperity goals.
Transport Minister Dagmawit Moges for her part indicated that making the transport system technology oriented is a wider part of the plan.
በዘርፋችን ጥራት ያለው መሰረተ ልማት የመዘርጋትና የማስተዳደር ጉዳይ የቀጣይ ዘመን
It will be our greatest agenda to establish and manage quality transport infrastructure in the country. In this regard, while they are built and deliver service on quality base, they should be climate and accident resilient, able to bring a meaningful change on road safety, and able to consume renewable energy. Moreover, the plan clearly states that we evaluate the success and efficiency of projects based on the social and economic change or effects they cause.
The plan also assumes minimizing traffic accidents by half.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the leaders of Sudan are beating war drums and have continued looting and displacing Ethiopian farmers. And this is in the face of the fact that Ethiopia still believes that the issue can be solved amicably and peacefully with round-table discussions. Kasan Chane reports.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has stated that Ethiopia still believes with talks and negotiations as options to resolve the border dispute with Sudan. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ambassador Dina Mufti noted that leaders of Sudan are beating war drums and have continued to looting and displacing Ethiopian farmers, although Ethiopia still believes that the issue can be solved amicably and peacefully with roundtable discussions. According to the spokesperson, before the commencement of any negotiation, however, Ethiopia demands the Sudanese army evacuate the area that it has occupied currently, displacing Ethiopian farmers as of November 6, 2020, and respective agreement to keep the status quo.
Reiterated the colleagues on the Ethio-Sudanese border situations that Ethiopia is still committed toward these peaceful resolutions of the border differences or conflicts with the Sudanese. We are always ready to settle the border issues through normal mechanisms that we have already schemed out. We have had schemes, and those schemes are to be held to, and this is our commitment, and still we would like to reiterate it. And we would like to bring to the attention of Sudanese people, we care about our good relationship with our Sudanese brothers and sisters.
Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ambassador Dina Mufti also highlighted the efforts and achievements made during a week in the areas of politics and economics, as well as civic diplomacy. According to the spokesperson, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen and British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab had fruitful discussions. Demeke Mekonnen briefed the British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab on Ethiopia's ongoing law enforcement efforts in the northern part of the country.
Visit of the UK Secretary of State of Foreign Affairs and his discussion with Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Mr. Demeke, has been cited. The Secretary was briefed on the peace enforcement operations that had been successfully carried out in Tigray and the current activities of relief supply, rehabilitation of the destroyed infrastructures, and the formations of the interim government. He was also briefed on Ethiopia's commitment towards climate change. Ethiopia is a country that is committed to build green economy, and that is an Ethiopian commitment. And this is also one of the briefings that had been made to the visiting guest. The Secretary of State as well reiterated his commitment, the commitment of his country towards strengthening Ethio-British relationship, and he appreciated Ethiopia's resilient schemes at green economy, and he invited also the country to participate in the forthcoming climate conference, which is going to be held in London.
The Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen also had a telephone conversation with United States Secretary of State for African Affairs Tibor Nagy on ways of peace and security issues and related to the law enforcement that is underway in the nation, and briefed as Ethiopia is committed to working particularly with the American new administration.
Another activity held by the Deputy Prime Minister was his telephone conversation with the Tibor Nagy. This is Assistant Secretary for the African Affairs of the U.S. State Department. He briefed him on what Ethiopia has been doing with regard to peaceful operations in the northern part of the country and the rehabilitation process that has followed it.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Dina pinpointed that Ethiopians living abroad and those of Ethiopian descent has donated more than 27 million birr to accelerate Ethiopia's green economy through supporting the further country in connection with this week's civic diplomacy. The ministry in its statement announced that the government has accomplished remarkable achievements focusing on various humanitarian activities in Tigray through its agencies and in collaboration with humanitarian agencies, providing food and non-food items to the people in the region. Noting reports that claim that 4.5 million people in Tigray in need of humanitarian assistance are unsubstantiated, stressing the government has allocated all its time, energy and resources to rebuild infrastructures that are irreparably damaged by the TPLF clique.
The National Intelligence and Security Services NIS has urged some social media activists to refrain from trying to create confusion among the public by disseminating false information. In a statement it issued, NIS said activists who are engaged in circulating fake news need to refrain from their illegal activities. Those who operate to cause harm to the national interest and existence of the nation, as well as to pose a threat to the peace and security of the people by spreading false information, will face justice, it said. Ethiopia is set to celebrate the victory of Adwa for the 125th time on the 1st of March. The victory of Adwa, which is the first of its kind in human race, is historical in that, at the time of colonization, Ethiopians defeated Italian invaders in just a day. History has shown that the defeat of the invading forces in Ethiopia eased the struggle for the liberation of the people from colonialism. The following report, presented by Kasahan Chadne, tells us more about that.
On the first day of March 125 years ago, traditional warriors, farmers and pastoralists, as well as women, defeated a well-armed Italian army in the northern town of Adwa in Ethiopia. The outcome of this battle ensured Ethiopia's independence, making it the only African country never to be colonized. Adwa turned Ethiopia into a symbol of freedom for black people globally. Adwa still stands as a witness to what ordinary Africans can do when they come together. The Ethiopian army's victory checked Italy's attempt to build an empire in Africa. The victory had further significance for being the first crushing defeat of a European power by African forces during the colonial era.
In the eyes of the Europeans, the victory of Adwa had created very high frustration. They are not human beings, and where they had a belief to make Africans their property, stood together and won Italy. It had brought about very great imaginations among Ethiopians. This is the reason why it is being said that Adwa victory ought to be celebrated where there are black people. It is a victory that ought to be celebrated in the whole of Africa and in a place the black Africans live. It is a victory which upsides down the superiority complex by the white over the black people. Adwa turned Ethiopia into the symbol of redemption and freedom for black people.
The victory of Adwa provides lively lessons to generations to come.
The Italian forces had entered in the north of Ethiopia in Tigray, but many of Ethiopians participated, being stood together, coming from every segment of the country. As we celebrate Adwa, we should also seize this opportunity to investigate many aspects, that famous chapter and numerous revelations. So, the victory of Adwa quickly became the pride and inspiration of the subjugated people of the world and a beacon of hope for all those who resisted any form of domination of a people over others. Indeed, Adwa changed perspectives and history was never to be the same as in the pre-Adwa days for Ethiopians and of the people of African origin. Adwa is a common aim and a common plan.
This is a victory where almost all Ethiopians, being hand in glove and gathered from the north, south, east and west, had participated brilliantly. Therefore, it is the victory of Ethiopia. This great victory has been a source of inspiration for struggles for freedom throughout the Pan-African world. Adwa has important lessons for Africans in their resistance against new forms of oppression at the time. We united should say Ethiopia, together with being Ethiopians. You must protect this country, and it is to say that we must safeguard the nation brilliantly.
The Battle of Adwa, 1st March 1896, was a stunning victory for Ethiopia, but a rotten disaster for Italy. Adwa, the story of Africans seeking to their freedom, played out against a background of almost unrelenting European expansion into Africa. The success of Ethiopia's forces assured that Ethiopia would be the only African country successfully to resist European colonization.